Welcome in, folks, here on the Believe in NFL Draft Prospects podcast. I'm Joe DeLeone, joined by NFL draft analyst Ryan Roberts, and we're continuing on with our positional rankings today, that being the offensive tackles. We've already done interior offensive line, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. So if you missed those, go check them out. Ryan, how are we doing? Ryan right now is in South Bend, Indiana, getting ready for the Notre Dame Pro Day.
Joe, I had the weirdest experience. Sorry, to answer your question first. I'm doing fine. I'm good. I'm in
fine,
the hotel.
not great.
I'm in the hotel room. Tomorrow morning is the pro day at Notre Dame, like you said, 10 a.m. I had a very strange experience though, taking the airplane in here, man. Very strange experience.
Into South Bend from Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Okay, so I went from Philly connecting flight to Chicago to South Bend.
Yes.
Right. So for the first time in my life, I got stopped and frisked after the,
So
you
don't have that TSA pre?
No, I don't. I'm not fancy like that. But yeah, so I got frisked, and then one of my bags got flagged for them to take a look at in there. And they're like, oh, is anything fragile in there? I'm like, well, I got my microphone and stuff in there. They're like, oh, okay. Dude, I had
microphone.
No, it wasn't the microphone. It wasn't the microphone. You know what it was? A tube of toothpaste.
Oh, it was a little too big.
It was very too big. And they're like, either you could go, they're like, you could go downstairs, you could check this toothpaste, or you can abandon it. And I'm like, I'll abandon it because I think I would have had to pay like a lot of money just to take this stupid thing of toothpaste. So,
like, this guy's never flown before. He tries to bring a whole tub of toothpaste on an airplane.
Dude, I know my wife Caitlin doesn't listen to this, so I'm gonna say it. Like, it's her fault, man. I think she put it in my bag. To be very honest, I'm actually 100% being honest here. I told her,
yeah.
And then she was like, oh man, I completely forgot about that. I'm like, oh cool. So
it was her fault.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally blame her.
Yes, absolutely.
The only time that I've ever been stopped was because of the microphone. I packed a microphone and they were like, what the hell is this massive thing in your bag? And it was the mic. And that was a very strange conversation to have. But nonetheless, today we've got offensive tackles. Ryan, before we get to the ads, I want to get your thoughts on the class. You were saying to me right before we started recording, that this group of tackles has a ton of talent at the top, but then once you get to like 6 or 7, it is a pretty fat drop off.
Yeah. I mean, so look, this is like my full circle with this offensive tackle class. I hated it in the summer. I didn't like it at all. I liked Evan Neal, at a high degree. I like Rhyan at a high degree, and we're going to talk about a couple of them today. Like, I liked them in the summer, and then it grew on me a lot more. There was guys that kind of emerged, and like, there's like 6 to 7 guys in this class that I would say like could probably start pretty early on in the NFL, could be plus starters down the road. Like, that's what I see. But after that, man, it's like falls off a cliff, to be honest. And I don't think there's depth in this class. I really don't. I think it's a little bit overrated because a lot of people talk about this offensive tackle class like it's so fantastic. I just don't say it. I see 6 to 7 good players up top. I think there's a clear tier break after like the top 2 to 3 players. There's a tier break. And then we're talking about guys that I think are starting level caliber players. But then like after like 6, man, I'm just like, there's developmental potential with a couple of guys, but like, I don't know. I just feel like it just kind of falls off the table a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a bit of a misconception with this tackle group that there's an abundance of talent, but the abundance of talent is probably more at the guard position rather than tackle. So we're going to debunk all that on today's show. We're going to go through your top 5 and then addressing maybe some of these fake good tackles, but that definitely seems to be the case with there being that the big drop off. Before we get to that conversation though, folks, I want to tell you about today's sponsors, first being Bet Online. It's that time of year as college basketball takes center stage with the tournament finally here, and things are moving very, very fast. And if maybe your bracket's done and it's been knocked out, you want to put some money down, you should head to Bet Online, which is your number one spot for all the updated odds and info. Head on over to their website to use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, have to tell you folks about Athletic Greens. Tons of people take multivitamins, and it's important to choose one that is top quality. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to start your day right. Their special blend of ingredients supports gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's also lifestyle friendly and fits a wide range of diets. There's only 1 gram of sugar and no chemicals or anything artificial. Reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/believe. That's BLEAV. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/believe. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. Athletic Greens, take ownership of your health. All right, Ryan, tackle time. Biggest sleeper as we've done so far on these shows. You have a man who's the teammate of a top interior lineman during Kennard. You went with Dare Rosenthal from Kentucky as your biggest sleeper. What made you pick him?
Yeah, no, I like Dare Rosenthal, man. So the backstory to him is he was at LSU and he was actually the starting left tackle for LSU over the last couple of years, and very physically gifted player. I think Joe, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he ran the fastest 40 at the combine. He's about 6'6", 290 pounds, but he ran like 4.88 at the combine. So like just a silly.
That's stupid fast.
Right, it's stupid fast, man. Like way faster than I could run. Like it's just like he would made me look very stupid, and I'm significantly less of a weight than he is. So yeah, man, he's a freak. And but the whole thing is that there was kind of some checkered off-field stuff at LSU. So he ended up at Kentucky his final year. I still think there's real talent, man. Like a wide zone system that gets this guy moving a little bit, like with that length and that athleticism. I think he's got starting caliber talents. I really do. It's just a little rough around the edges. He needs to gain some weight, but like physically gifted athlete for the position. So he's a long-term investment. He's not a guy that's going to come in day one and you're going to say like Dare Rosenthal, you're going to start at left tackle, in year one, but like year 3, year 4, if he lands with a good offensive line coach, like, the Howard Mudds of the world, like that type of caliber, I think that he can really be a really good, solid starter in the NFL. So Dare Rosenthal would be my pick for a guy that isn't ready today, but long term, I think he is a sleeper because you could sell me, man, that like down the road, he's one of the better pass blockers coming out of this group. It's just there's going to be a little bit of a road for his playing time at the NFL level.
Yeah, Rosenthal's name jumped off to me when you put him down because of that combine performance that he put up. But he's one of the fastest 40 times, and it's crazy to see those big dudes move at that speed. Your most overhyped player, Nicholas Petit-Freer from Ohio State. I feel like he's kind of getting that, like, oh, developmental could be that type of player, but I don't know if he really fits that description. But what made you pick him for most overhyped?
Yeah, I mean, if I could backtrack real quick, Joe, because I really kind of glanced over Dare, because you mentioned, obviously the freak athlete that he is from a testing perspective. I just wanted to put that out in the universe real quick, that testing does matter for offensive tackles. I know people think that it doesn't really matter for guards, but it does for tackles because, I mean, they're playing against guys like Von Miller and Myles Garrett and these freaking natures, like in a lot of space. So I am a big fan of the athleticism kind of parameters around the offensive tackle position. So I just wanted to backtrack for a second. Getting on to Nicholas Petit-Freer, I mean, so this is a kid that 5-star recruit, consensus across the board, ends up going to Ohio State. He's out of Florida. He played high school football down in Florida, and he actually almost went to Notre Dame, Joe. I was told that if
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was told that. So the year that he was getting recruited, that he was going to be coming, Notre Dame, that was when Harry Hiestand left for the Chicago Bears job. And I was told that if Harry Hiestand stayed, he was 100% going to be at Notre Dame. Like, no doubt about it. But he ends up at Ohio State. I don't think he was developed well, to be honest. Like, I think that the offensive line for Ohio State last year actually was pretty bad. I mean, for the talent level that they have, because Styre Munford's a decent talent on the interior. They got this guy named DeJuan Jones who went back to school at right tackle, who's just a behemoth. Like, they had some talent, and for whatever reason, they just did not get developed properly. And I think that part of Nicholas Petit-Freer's problem is he's got a long athletic frame. He's got 34 plus inch arms. He has a 6'5", 6'6" frame, and he's over 300 pounds now, but he doesn't have a naturally good frame for adding a ton of weight. He has added weight, but I think it's been at the detriment of his athleticism. And he was a kid that coming out of high school, his biggest plus was like great athlete, really nice mover. And I feel like his body just isn't built to weigh over 300 pounds, and it has stunted his athleticism. And now when you zap his athleticism, it's just has kind of cost everything that makes him good, because he's never going to be the naturally most powerful player in terms of the ability to sit on power. Like, I don't think he has great anchor ability. He's never going to be plus in the run game, but his foot quickness was what was kind of his big selling point. But I think his foot quickness has kind of been sacrificed with the frame that he has. So some people at some points were saying like, hey, this guy could be a first round pick. Now it's kind of more like, hey, he could be a day 2 pick. I would not touch Nicholas Petit-Freer until day 3. I just wouldn't. I would not touch him until then, because I don't like the body composition. I don't think he's a great athlete anymore, and I don't think that he's been developed properly. So there's a long road for Nicholas Petit-Freer, and I'm not sure he's ever going to get there.
Yeah, I feel like we tend to get caught in this trap of picking 5-star guys that didn't really live up to that 5-star expectation to be like, not like a diamond in the rough, but to be a value pick somewhere late on day 2. It's like such a reoccurring thing. Like Dylan Moses is somebody who's kind of like that. Is like, oh, 5-star recruit. He'll pan out. He'll hit. But this is just another example of that, with a big, long offensive tackle who just has had no development despite that 5-star hype.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, man, because like I'm in the recruiting world now, right? It's like it's difficult to project college players in the NFL, but it is way more difficult to predict high school players, man, because there's so many of them, and there's so many different levels. And I mean, just like we're both from New Jersey, right? So like New Jersey, how many groups are in New Jersey, Joe? What's it like, group 5, right? Isn't there
5, I think?
6?
Yeah.
Yes. So there's
it's a tiny state.
it is a tiny state too, but there's still 5 classifications. Yeah. Like I coached and played on the group 1 level, which is the smallest level, but like it goes all the way up to 5. So these players are coming from completely different situations, completely different states. I mean, New Jersey's actually a pretty good state, for football, but like even a Breece Hall, you wouldn't typically think of a guys from the state of Kansas being that great of athletes, but then Breece Hall pops out of nowhere. But then there's some guys that are going to dominate lesser competition in some states that aren't football states, and they're going to look better than they are. So like, it's just hard to kind of fundamentally sort and relatively rank those types of players. And I think that's why that always happens. It's like people kind of defer like, oh, he has the 5-star pedigrees. He was a high recruit at one point. I think that's an imperfect system, unfortunately. And I think that Freer has talents. I think that 5-star status was rightfully out there. It's just some guys just don't develop properly, and he just has not been developed. Does that mean that he can't be a good player in the NFL level? Not necessarily, but I mean, he's far behind the 8 ball now. It's going to be kind of a crash course to see if he can hit anywhere near his potential here in the next couple of years.
It's also a crapshoot even more, I would argue, with offensive tackles and offensive linemen, because usually you flip on the recruit tape and you're like, wow, look at this grown man out there as a junior or a sophomore that's 6'7" and he's 270 pounds, and he's going against some little goober in some of his highlights that he put on there that's like 5'9", 240, and he's just completely piecing him into the ground. It's like, how do you evaluate when that's what's on his tape? And some of these guys don't even face Division I talent, despite having the frames to be that good. And it is kind of just like that projection. So it is certainly tricky.
Well, there's a kid in the 2023 cycle, so he's going to be a high school senior this year. Joe, I saw his highlight tape. His name's Caden Fegan, and I actually think he's a good football player, but he plays out of the state of Illinois, and it's like a small classification in Illinois, and I don't even think Illinois plays very good football, to be honest, outside of like the Chicago area.
Right.
And Fegan, dude, is a running back at high school, and he's 6'3", 225 pounds, and he's just a monster.
That's a linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's getting recruited as running back and as a linebacker. So, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But like, you watch his highlight tape, and he's bigger than the defensive lineman he's going against. He's bigger than the offensive lineman blocking for him.
It's Vita Vea, but a little lot smaller.
Really, man. Like, it's just it's literally a man amongst boys situation. And like, how do you properly evaluate him? He's not playing against guys that are Division I players, you know what I mean? So like, that's where I think that's where it gets muddled a little bit, and a little tough to predict, because like, there's just some levels, man, where like these guys. I mean, I played offensive tackle in high school, and I'm right around 6 foot,
smaller than me,
and I was like 200. I was like 230 pounds at my peak. That should not be playing offensive tackle, but like, I played at a small level in high school. You know what I mean? So.
Right. All right. Let's get into the guys that are actually ranked, not us who were former high school offensive linemen. Number 5, you go with Tyler Smith from Tulsa. Chris Paul's been getting some buzz, who is his teammate who's in the interior. And I feel like Tyler Smith's name doesn't get brought up enough. And here he is at 5 on your rankings. Yeah, man. Hey, well, quick shout out to Chris Paul. Good friend of the show, Chris Paul. Good dude, by the way. Great name. But sorry, I don't know. I was just Chris was one of my more favorite interviews that I've done this cycle, man. He was a really well-spoken young man and very humble, which is nice to see always. Tyler, though, I tweeted out, I think, a couple months. Well, I mean, he doesn't. No, we're not saying that. I know that was a bad segue. That was a bad segue. Well, I mean, how he plays, Joe, he doesn't seem humble, man. He's putting dudes in the dirt every other play, man. Like, he is a physically imposing dude. 34+ inch arms, right around 6'5", 320 pounds. He is a massive dude that hits all the thresholds. And I put out a tweet, I think, a couple months ago, that I think Tyler Smith is better than a lot of the bigger name offensive linemen that kind of get more talk than he does. And that was kind of directed at Nicholas Petit-Freer, to be honest with you. And I think it's kind of it's a steady assumption now, because people have Tyler Smith firmly in like late first round type of conversation, early second round conversation. And I think it's warranted, man, because he has all the thresholds he hits. He's a good athlete. And he's incredibly physical. One of the best run blockers in this class. And he is a ready-made run blocker. Now, that being said, some technical issues as a pass blocker. It's not deficient in terms of his athleticism. Like, he has good foot quickness. He has good mirror ability. All that stuff's good. Just oversets a little bit. Shoulders get a little out of whack. Balance is kind of thrown off by footwork sometimes. But, like, everything is correctable. I think he has the foot quickness. He has the length, and he certainly has the power in the run game. I'm a big fan of Tyler Smith. I would rather him kind of get redshirted a little bit as a rookie, not like the full year, but like maybe half a year. You got to bring him along a little slowly. But I think he's got big time starting potential down the road, and I think he's one of the highest ceiling offensive linemen in this class. Yeah, his name's been popping up a lot recently, and it's such a conundrum to me that Tulsa wasn't better this year. And I know they lost some guys and their roster kind of completely reshuffled, but I mean they lost everybody on defense. Like, they lost Maven Collins. They lost both the corners that transferred to Missouri, Caleb Evans and Ali Green. And did you see that Jackson player transferred this offseason, by the way? Did you see that? Yeah, wait, where did he transfer to? Baylor. Playing at Baylor, yes, dude. That's right. I knew it was a Big 12 school. It's funny. Tulsa's the most random program that had just like all these insanely athletic good players last year. Good players, man. Josh Johnson, the wide receiver, was at the East West Shrine. Like, just it's good development of talent over there at Tulsa for whatever reason. Speaking of ballers, there's a guy who played over in Pasadena near me and went to school about a mile down the road that you have at number 4. That being Sean Rhyan, the UCLA offensive tackle. So you've been on Sean Rhyan for a long time now. You were on him at the beginning of the cycle. And the next guy that you're going to talk about, I don't want to get into him yet, but it's kind of funny that a lot people are like bringing Sean Rhyan up as a guard. and
Yeah.
you think that he justifiably is a top 5 tackle, why do you counter those takes by those other people?
Are you close to UCLA? How close are you?
Like a mile and a half, 2 miles. I
Seriously?
drive.
That's
I
awesome.
drive past it all the time. Yeah. Oh, I'm
Oh, that's
I,
awesome.
right near it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't.
Half of my hinge matches are be girls that go to UCLA.
Oh, nice. Nice. Very nice. Half of my hate. Shut up, dude.
None of them want to hang out with me though because I'm too stupid.
Well, yeah, I mean, UCLA is a great school, so that makes sense. Why do I have Sean Rhyan up there? I mean, honestly, man, like I don't understand what people are messing with it. I really don't. And I don't think that he needs to play guard. Can he play guard? Sure. He can be a great guard. There's no doubt. But I don't see a deficiency on film in terms like his arms are a little shorter than the threshold, right? I mean, so were Sam Cosme's though, and so were Penny Sewell's, and so were Rashawn Slater's. So like all these guys are below the threshold in terms of arm length. But I don't see it hurting Sean Rhyan on film. Like he frames, he doesn't get beat because of length. He has good foot quickness, and he's incredibly powerful. Probably the best core strength, I think, in this class and the best flexibility in this class. I mean, he had the best tape I probably have seen against Kayvon Thibodeau. Like he just stonewalled him almost every single rep when they played Oregon this year. So I think that he's an offensive tackle at the next level. I think he's a high caliber offensive tackle. And I think at worst, if a team is like, under the threshold of a arm length perspective, you're going to play guard. I think he's a dominant guard. Like, I think he's one of the best guards in the NFL. He could be Brandon Scherf, Joe. Like, he could be, right? I mean, he could be because Brandon Scherf if the Washington Redskins, because they were the Redskins at the time, if they chose that Brandon Scherf, they wanted him to play offensive tackle, Brandon Scherf would have been a good offensive tackle. There's no doubt. Like, he would have just been a good offensive tackle. But the fact is that they liked him better in guard, and he develops into one of the best guards in the league. Same thing with Zach Martin for the Cowboys. Zach Martin could have played offensive tackle in the NFL, and he could have been good at it. But they thought he was better at guard.
Tackle. He's played tackle in the NFL
spurts.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. In spurts and in emergency situations, they moved him out. He's done well. But they prefer him inside a guard. He's been a dominant guard. I feel the same way about Sean Rhyan. I think that Sean Rhyan could be a good tackle in the NFL to very good tackle in the NFL. But if you want to move him to guard, that's fine, because I think he'll be dominant as well. So in the similar vein of a Brandon Scherf and a Zach Martin, that's how I feel about Sean Rhyan. Just incredible flexibility, incredible core strength. Like, this dude displaces gaps as good as anybody in this draft, man. He is a dominant football player. Some dominant level of reps from Sean Rhyan from UCLA.
Yeah, Sean Ryan's definitely your guy in this class that is just so different from what the consensus is. And speaking of different from the consensus, there's some buzz that people think that Ikem Ekwonu could be top 5 pick, but here you are, you have him at 3, and your sentiment is that Ikem Ekwonu, the NC State tackle, is a guard. So it's the reverse of the Sean Rhyan situation, where you think that he's capable of playing tackle, and people are saying he's a guard. And here with Ekwonu, people are saying he's a tackle. You think he's a guard, and you also don't think he's as good as everyone says he is.
I put on Twitter, man, I think that he's a first-round player. Like, there's no doubt. Like, he's a first-round offensive lineman. I think he'd be better at guard, though. I think he would. And I know he hit the thresholds at the combine. He hit like 34 inches, 6'4". Cool. That's awesome. My thing was never that he lacked length, though. Like, I don't think he lacked length. That was never the conversation. The conversation piece is that he plays like a guard. He's a jump setter, and he's a dominant run game figure. Like, when you ask him to do a traditional 45 or a vertical set as a pass protector, it gets ugly, man. Like, if you turn on his game against Florida State, there are some big moments in the run game. There's no doubt. But Jermaine Johnson took him to the woodshed a little bit in pass pro. Took him to the woodshed. And then you put on Clemson, same thing. Clemson, some high-level run blocks. But Myles Murphy, who we're going to talk a lot about next year, Joe, by the way, Myles Murphy from Clemson. We're going to talk about him all year.
Baller.
He gave him some absolute trouble, man, because the length and the athleticism combination is just a little too much for him on the outside. So, again, if he goes, and I know a lot of people are linking him to the Jets. If he goes to the Jets, I think he's going to do well, because I think the Jets kind of want to run an offensive system that is going to be heavy run, going to run some outside zone, do all that type of stuff. And I'm good with that. That's fine. if you're that type of system where you're going to run the ball a ton and you're going to work off of play action a ton and run action, I'm good. Like if you're a Baltimore Ravens, you're a New York Jets, or San Francisco 49ers, like whatever. He could be a good offensive tackle in that system. But I think that he could be a really good guard, like all pro level guard. I really do. And I kind of regret not putting him in the interior show because I really do think that he's best served at guard, but he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to play offensive tackle early on in the NFL, but don't be shocked. All I'm saying is just hear me here because I know some people out there that are listening to this right now is like, what is this guy talking about? Or mad. They're mad. Just listen, man. He might be a guard long-term, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. He's going to be a really good player. I just think it might be better inside. That's all.
So take note of that, folks. We're not bashing him. We're just saying that he's not a tackle. Take note there. All right, number 2, Charles Cross from Mississippi State, who a little bit more raw, I think, of the group, but still certainly talented. What are your thoughts on Charles Cross, and why did he slot at 2 for you?
He's the best pass blocker in the class, and he's obviously had a lot of practice at it at Mississippi State under Mike Leach because they pass every single damn play, but he is a really, really balanced foot quickness, great mirror ability. And I worried about him a ton in the summer because I didn't love the frame. I was like, he's a little bit light. He's a little bit thin everywhere. Is he going to be able to hold weight? Well, he was this year. Weighed about 310 pounds, and he carried the weight well, and I don't have those concerns anymore. And he could sit down and power a little bit in pass protection. So I think in every aspect, pass blocking wise, this guy's the best pass blocker in the draft. And I think he profiles as a high level pass protector in the NFL level. Now there is going to be some, and it's usually the other way around. Like there's a lot of guys where dominant in the run game, like Tyler Smith, but you need to work on the pass protection. This is the complete opposite. Pass protection, I think from day one, Charles Cross is going to give you the goods. Run blocking, I think he's got the ability to be very good in the area, but the fact of the matter is that Mike Leach just doesn't ask guys to do it. So it's a tough transition because it's a tough projection because he's simply just not asked to do it. So you're going to have to work with him a ton in the run game, but I think from day one, he's the best pass blocker in this draft.
Well, so you really think that over Evan Neal and all these other guys, he's that best pass blocker?
Oh yeah, 100%. He's most advanced. He's got the best consistent technique. I think it all around he's just the best pass blocker in my opinion. Yeah.
So the obvious number 1 here is Evan Neal from Alabama, the monstrously large man who did not participate in the combine, should be participating in his pro day. I think his measurements are like, wasn't it like 6'7", 330 or something along those lines?
Yeah,
which is just stupid.
337, and it was the cleanest 337 you've ever seen in your life, man.
Dude's built like a tank. So what separates him from the rest of the group? Which, I mean, the physical traits is definitely part of it.
Well, that's 100% part of it. And I think that he gives you a really good baseline as well because he started at guard as a freshman, he started at right tackle as a sophomore, and then started at left tackle as a junior. And left tackle was his best film. Like, there's no doubt about it. And he has the unteachable things, 6'7" plus, 34-inch arms. And that frame is just incredible. Like, he holds such great weight. And it's just, he looks like a guy that could be a premier offensive tackle at the next level. And then you see it, like I talked about, Ekwonu and Rhyan are like dominant in the run game. Both of them are. And then I talked about Charles Cross, who is the best pass blocker in the draft. I think Evan Neal is kind of the best of both worlds. Like, he's just good at everything. He's just very solid at everything. And he's got really good foot quickness for his size. And the ceiling is the roof, man. Like, this kid can be just as good as you want him to be. There's no limit to his potential. So I think he's about as can't miss as you want in this class because he's played multiple positions. He's played in the SEC. He's played at a big time level for a long time here, and he's 6'7" plus, 337 pounds with 34-inch arms. Like, it's just a lot of boxes checked with a guy like Evan Neal.
Yeah, rare athleticism and size is something that you just don't see every single year in a given tackle class or just draft class in general. But somebody who does have the measurables and fits and checks all those boxes that was notably omitted from your top 5 is Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. And he appeared on the show. He did a guest appearance before the start of the season. If you want to go check that out, I encourage you to. But you don't have Penning on here, and some people think that he's a top 15 player in this draft. How come you didn't include Penning?
So I said in the beginning, I think after tackle 6-ish, it falls off a cliff. Penning is in that conversation. I have a second round grade on Trevor Penning. I think he has starting talent as a right tackle long term on the next level. He reminds me a ton of I just lost oh no, what was his name? Offensive tackle, that right tackle that used to play with the Saints. Big right tackle, number 64, Zach Strief. There we are. Zach Strief. Really good football player for a long time. Penning tested as a better athlete than I thought he was, to be honest. Like, I thought he was a good athlete. He tested like an elite athlete. I just think there's a little bit of tightness there, right? Like, I think that there's just some times where he's going to struggle against some outside track rushers, which is fine because he is a physically imposing dude that plays about as hard as anyone in this class. So, like, I'm good with Trevor Penning. Starting caliber right tackle for a long time. I am not buying this top 10 to 15 hype. Like, I would draft him late first rounds. I would draft him definitely on day 2, but like the top 10 conversation right now, I think is kind of insane. I think he's going to be a good starting caliber offensive tackle for a long time at the next level. I just don't see high level player. I see good player. I don't see elite player.
Yeah, and me being an FCS guy, I of course am going to support the draft type of him being a top 15 pick, but I totally understand that. I totally get that. I just think that with all the guys that we talked about here, they either have better traits or they're a little more polished. And I just think Trevor might be lacking in some of those areas. I mean, he's a big, really good athlete. He's mean, he's tough, and we saw that. I think we shouldn't get upset over the thought of just because we're not saying he's a first rounder doesn't mean we don't think he's good. To be an FCS player drafted as highly as he's probably going to get drafted, which is end of the first round, early second, that really does mean a lot. But it's not I don't think it's a big deal if he doesn't end up going in the first round or if he is the 6th tackle off the board.
Yeah, so let's roll through that real quick, Joe. I'm going to go through some lists. Let's go back and forth. You get me your insight too. Ready? Mm-hmm. So, all right. So obviously, Ikem Ekwonu is a lock first round pick, right? I mean, top 10. Evan Neal is a lock first round pick. Charles Cross is a lock first round pick. Let's get into some of the borderline guys now. Sean Rhyan, I would draft him in the first round. Probably not a first round pick, though, by most people, I would say. Like, I think it's going to be close. Tyler Smith?
Close.
I would say I'm like 70% that he goes in the first round. But yeah, I agree. It's kind of close. How about, all right, let's go. Trevor Penning, lock?
Well, so here's the thing, though. If you look at this year's free agency, there was not a lot of tackle movement, and you just said that after 6 there's a drop off. So wouldn't you argue that that's going to lead to some inflation in the market?
Probably. So like let's play the game though, because I agree with you. I agree. Trevor Penning, then definitely right first round.
There's tackle hungry teams, especially in the back end.
All right, well let's go with a couple of these borderline guys. Okay, I'm gonna go Daniel Falele.
No,
you don't think so at all? Like, there's no chance.
First rounder? No. Come on.
I'm not sure about it, man. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but like I'm
think someone would do that? Dave Gettleman's not a general manager anymore, Ryan. Don't forget that.
But the Las Vegas Raiders are going to pick at some point, right? I mean, so
they have a new direction. There's no Mike Mayock.
Yeah, true. It wasn't Mayock's fault.
Is there a Clemson tackle for them to draft?
No. Oh my God. Did you see that Clemson offense play last year? Of course I don't draft. Here's the one, dude. I want your honest opinion on this one.
Okay.
Ready? Bernard Raymond.
No.
You don't think so? I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be. No. All right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Bernard Raymond. He stinks, but I think that he could go in the first round. I 100% do. Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Dude, NFL likes him for some reason. I don't know why, but they do. They like him.
He's like, isn't he 26?
He's 25. Yeah.
What about that screams first round? He's 25.
He's only been playing the position
which is nice. He's barely been playing the position.
That's the argument. That's the argument. They're gonna be like he's still a projection because he hasn't
So
been playing long.
he figured okay, so he's further behind in his development by that reasoning. So by the time he figures it out, he's gonna be 28.
Yes,
that's terrible.
Joe, you don't have to sell me on him not being a first round pick. I have a hot take, and I think I put it on a podcast at some point.
Okay,
I wouldn't take Bernard Raymond in the first 3 rounds. Like I just wouldn't touch.
You did say that, and you also said that his teammate Luke Gadecki is better than him.
Long term, yeah. I think Luke Gadecki could be a starter at the next level for a little bit. Bernard Raymond, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I really don't. Like you said, 25-year-old already. He's going to be 25.
If he was 21 or 22, I think it might be a different argument. But like he's going to be 28 by the time he figures it out, and then he's going to be at the end of his contract. So it's like, okay, you re-up, and are you going to be wanting to have a guy like that on the books that you're going to have to probably then get into negotiations for a second contract that's going to finish his contract in his early to mid 30s? It just sounds horrible.
No, it does. And I honestly think he's a little bit of an overrated athlete. I don't think he's quite the athlete that people act like he is. And I mean, you saw this. Well, yeah, sure. He's Austrian, so he's got to be good, apparently, because they want that great story. But Joe, honestly though, you were in Mobile.
Yeah.
How bad was he at the Senior Bowl, man? Like, how bad was he?
I didn't even notice him. I was focused on other guys.
I noticed him for the wrong reasons during Mobile. Like he was bad, man. It was yuck. Ugh.
It was like one of those things where you check, like, was that Gadecki or Raymond? It was like, oh, it was Raymond.
It was either. If guys were getting beat at offensive tackle, it was either Raymond or it was Nick Zakel from Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, I think that's good to wrap us up on, folks. Make sure you hit subscribe at Joe DeLeone, at Rise and Draft, at NFL Prospects Pod. We'll talk to you later.